Back from Angel, this is episode 7 of season 5. Very excited as always to continue, so what's going to be happening next. Last episode, not my favourite one, let's just say. It was fine, but definitely not one of my highlights of the season so far. But I'm excited for this because, you know, Buffyverse episode 7s, they tend to be kind of a big deal sometimes. So I'm intrigued to see if this is going to fit that mould and if we're going to get some good stuff, if it's going to set off a season-long kind of thing or address anything with that. I'll have to wait and see, but overall I am really liking the new direction that the show's kind of taken with the Wolfram Hart stuff this season. And yeah, I'm excited to jump back in, see what's going to happen next. So let's get into the next one.
Customer complaints are dealt with through killing, torture, beating, sometimes fire.
Is this Amazon?
All matchmaking.
Whoa! Jesus!
Yes, thank you, Wesley. I'd love a gun.
Okay, Lara Croft. Wow! Oh snap, I should say. A shocking defeat. No. Oh, shit.
I needed someone who wouldn't arouse Emil's suspicion, someone I could trust.
And so conveniently, the only person who could go with you was Fred.
I mean,
What if
yeah.
she shouldn't have been there? It was a reckless decision.
I guess it all worked out. Connor's okay. You're happy. Maybe Wesley knew what he was doing after all. Are you worried about the next time Wesley betrays you? Trying to do the right thing?
Well, don't plant seeds like
They
that,
gave me the all clear.
Eve.
Hello, Father.
Oh, yeah, that's mature. You're Wesley's...
I see man is still my son's strong point.
Oh.
Roger Wyndham Price.
Well, I'm not a big fan of you based on what we know, so this should be interesting.
The Watchers' Council was destroyed last year.
Shame.
But your tenure as Watcher ranks as our most embarrassing failure.
Really?
Thanks, Dad.
I beat out everybody dying in an explosion as most embarrassing failure.
Friends have agreed to take you back, pending my assessment. I'm here to evaluate you.
What if he doesn't want to be evaluated and go back?
This isn't the Wolfram.
Oh, see, he's all bumbling again. Now his dad's around.
Sorry.
Go away, sir. Wiping your nose.
How do you do?
Father? Well, I don't believe it. Well, okay, I do believe it. But only because I heard you were...
I was going to say, I very much believe it.
Sex with robots is more common than most people think.
It is for you, Spike, yes.
My colleagues and I fell upon you slaughtering an orphanage in Vienna. Killed 2 of my men before you escaped.
Oh. How have you been?
Let me help you with that. You shouldn't.
Thanks. Anyway, we were...
Oh, the Academy didn't make him head boy for nothing. Mind you, as I recall, the pickings were a bit slim that year.
Fuck you. The trouble is, he's not interested in going back to the council, but he's still going to want to do well in this assessment because it's his
Sort
dad.
of effective counter-spell. You can have just activated the bomb.
Use your dad as a human shield. You don't need to run.
What the hell am I?
It could be our ending.
Oh.
What did you do?
These symbols were, in fact, Deutrovic in origin, not Morassian as you surmise. Quite simple, really.
He turned it off and on again.
Lauren's keeping him entertained.
So
Oh,
I'm
God.
covered in cherries. The police are just pounding on the door.
Find it hard to think straight when he's around. Fathers and sons, and that can be torture sometimes. Look, you should see this.
About the time that I caught you with the resurrection spell.
A bird had flown into my window pane. I think I was trying to bring it back to life.
Aww.
I can't believe you can
That's
even
wholesome.
read a resurrection spell at age 7.
Wesley just walks in and downs that bottle.
East of origin.
Wouldn't blame him.
Maybe something.
Winifred. She seemed to like you.
Yes, but she's a very special person.
So,
It's true.
You have a girlfriend already? Well, Wesley, how am I supposed to know these things?
Starters, you might have asked.
By being a good father.
The last girl I was with, I had to chop into little tiny pieces because a higher power saw fit to stab her in the neck.
You don't want to discuss it? Fine. But spare me the sarcasm. It's too embarrassing.
I have work to do, Father.
Look, all I'm
Yeah, but he doesn't know his son, does he?
Do you realize how dangerous these books are?
We're in the wrong hands, of course.
Yes, of course.
Oh. Well.
I figure I'm trapped here for a reason. And you're part of that reason. The amulet that did this to me.
The fact that they've tried so hard to make Eve a thing,
Gotta assume they meant
there must be a lot more to her.
Get security online. I need to know if this is a false alarm.
Oh! It's not a false alarm. Oh no, they want the books.
What do you think you're doing? I had attack priority.
We're not fencing.
We still follow the basic rules.
It's a mighty fine coincidence that he pointed those out, and then that's what the robots wanted, though. Or cyborgs, I should say.
You handle that fellow quite readily. At least you haven't gone soft.
Find out to what extent.
Shit. You little snake. Are you king of the robots? Is that what this is? Oh, I don't want you to have that, I don't think.
Okay, come on.
Can we not? Oh,
Good. You can feel pain.
well, that's horrible.
What is my father doing? What did he take?
I like that he's using an earlier mistake now to his advantage.
Sorry, I have to concentrate.
We try and punch through him. Oh, nice. That's quite cool. That could have gone very wrong.
Wes!
You just want Angel on his own.
Where's Wesley?
At the strata.
Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
Ready for extraction. We're finished.
What did you take? Oh,
You're using the staff of Deva's Sin to take Angel's will. Make him your slave.
oh.
Your cyborgs panic a bit too easily.
He's a puppet. He always has been. To the powers that be. To wolf.
Oh, not this nonsense again.
You failed me enough for one lifetime.
Ugh, this guy. Shoot him, Wesley.
Wesley!
Right in the head.
Fred? Tell me, Father, what is it that galls you so? That I was never as good at the job as you? Or that I just might be better?
Oh yes, this is Los Angeles.
Oh.
We have to talk about our feelings.
Yeah, that's why you always
They
make
may
him
be
feel
real,
low.
but I will kill you for it. Please believe me.
Oh, I believe you. I was raised by you after all.
Yeah.
But I dropped this, the crystal
That's so
cat,
sad, isn't it?
and Angel is restored.
Well then, maybe. If it's
Oh,
all
you.
care about.
Didn't even fucking hesitate when it came to Fred. And that was a lot of bullets. Like, you wanted to make sure. I'll give you that. I mean, there's daddy issues, then there's that, isn't there? Oh. Of course.
Now the worst part about losing your free will, having no control over your body. Well, there's that. I get really nauseous. The perception is I'm weak. That's why they went for me.
Oh, okay.
They're wrong.
They are.
You do what you have to do to protect the people around you.
I killed my actual dad. That's one of the first things I did when I became a vampire.
That's true. Good times.
I killed my mom. Actually, I'd already killed her, and then she tried to shag me, so I had to.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, good times.
Very comforted.
I mean, it's something that he tried to comfort you, I guess.
If you're here to tell me about how you killed your parents, perhaps we could wait for another time.
It's not like you killed your dad either.
Right.
But knowing that he's capable of doing it if he needed to
Admit it to yourself.
is a lot.
He pointed a gun at you, Fred. So I shot it.
Many times.
Wesley,
Hi. Oh, sorry to interrupt. I thought I was going to take you home.
well, Wesley and I were just...
Go. You should go.
I don't think he's in the mood, to be fair. It's just never Wesley's time, is it? Calling your dad or your mum? A therapist, maybe? That would also help.
Hello, Father. How... Oh, I didn't realise it was so early there. I've had a bit of a... Of course we have clocks in Los Angeles.
Oh my god.
Listen, wanted to call and see how you were.
Next time I'll get you for real, old man. Okay, that was a really, really great episode. Very much enjoyed it. It was good to get like a Wesley-centric one. I'd kind of been craving one a little bit. Something for him to properly, you know, sink his teeth into as a character, I suppose. So it was really cool that we got one. After a bit of him just being around doing his thing in Wolfman Heart, but now we really challenged that in a way by bringing his father into it. And that was cool to kind of address that after so long. That was kind of a key thing, I think, in Wesley's character developing in season 1 of Angel was I've got you under my skin, when they kind of had the little demon child boy thing. Although, was there a demon in the end? Or was it just that the boy was evil? I can't remember. It was a long time ago. But they kind of had discussions there about Wesley's father and everything, and how he'd always belittle him, made him feel quite small, and Wesley became his own worst enemy because of that. He just didn't believe in himself enough, so he was all that hapless kind of fool who always fell over and a bit clumsy, stuff like that. And as soon as he showed up again in this one, you know, we had a bit of that physical comedy, I guess, coming back, a bit of a klutz, which was kind of sad to see that he still had that effect on Wesley, and given, you know, the ending of the episode, that phone call to wrap things up, I think it would always just be that way. I don't think that relationship is ever going to really change. It's times like this, really, I get very, very, very mad and sad that I got spoiled about, you know, a certain thing with Wesley at the end of the show, because I kind of know, in a way, where things have to lead with his character. So that makes me sad. I'm like, oh, I have to see where they go with this or whatever, because I'm like, well, good luck with that. But regardless, it was cool to see him get some focus and to put some spotlight, in a way, into his relationship with his father, which had often been his downfall, and to see how much he'd grown since then, how quickly he, you know, regresses, I suppose. To see him, in a way, stand up for himself. He was fighting back, even before he, like, killed him. He was fighting back a bit. He was like, well, maybe you always just berated me and belittled me because you're scared that I'm better at you, being a whole, like, watcher and stuff. So I like that even then he was biting back, but as soon as you bring Fred into a situation, boom. Boom, 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 in fact. Which was a crazy moment. I'm always kind of a bit like, oh, that it was just a robot. I mean, it was set up, because obviously we were dealing with, like, cyborgs and robots and stuff in this one. I suppose it is a bit of a cop-out that they really set up that all the other ones were, like, cyborgs, really. But that one just seemed to be a straight-up robot, in a glamour, I think they mentioned. So I guess, in a way, that's kind of a cop-out kind of thing. But there was some kind of setup to that reveal. But I almost feel like maybe that should have been Wesley's dad, somehow going a bit weird and evil, but maybe that's just too much of a shift for Wesley's character and, like, his relationship with his mother or something that they just didn't want to really explore in the show, so they had to have it be, you know, robots infiltrating, glamours, getting all the data they need to trick him and stuff like that. So that was interesting, and I did like the idea of these cyborg things infiltrating Wolfram Heart, trying to get Angel to be their slave, stuff like that. You know, it wasn't really about that plot line, really, was it? It was definitely more so about Wesley and some shift in his relationship with himself, I guess, and no shift at all in the relationship with his real father. That's kind of the point of it, I suppose, the tragedy of it. And a big shift in his relationship with Fred, I think, as well, because I think she became very aware in those last moments of the episode, like exactly how far he was willing to go for her, and maybe there is something to that. But then good old Hurricane Knox coming through, being like, hey, I'm going to drive you home, I'm so charming, no. Still don't trust him. I don't trust Eve either. But yeah, there were still some kind of developments moving forward a bit. I mean, it was more so about some characters than just the robot plotline. We didn't really care about Angel being, taken of his free will and all that. That could have been a very interesting metaphor if they explored that, and if it was like an Angel-centric one, like the whole Angelus losing his soul kind of deal. But that's not what the episode was going for. And I didn't really feel the stakes of that threat, if I'm being honest. But it doesn't matter, because I think what really needed to work in this episode was the Wesley stuff, and I think that absolutely did work. Maybe cop-out-ish aside of the dad just being a full-on robot. But yeah, they explored some cool stuff with it, and I like that we've seen, and they gave plenty of time in the show, they gave seasons and seasons in the show to see Wesley kind of grow and change into a much more confident, darker version of the Wesley we first met. And then they explored something like this when the change is so clear and evident from where he started when we first met him to where he is now. Then they kind of explore something like this. I like that they kind of gave it the time to grow a bit. And it's not every day they properly explore the relationship between Buffyverse characters' parents properly, I don't feel like. So it's cool that they, in a way, did it in this one. And the idea of the father and the son, the balance between that, we explored that obviously with Wesley and his dad. Angel very briefly talked about Connor and everything with that, and how Wesley ties into that as well. The father will call the son kind of prophecy. That was all really cool and interesting, and a nice kind of through line to the Wesley we first met, the Wesley we know now, the whole Connor arc last season, the Wesley Angel Connor stuff from season 3 as well, bringing that back, and the fact that Wesley doesn't even remember that happening, but it still has an effect on Angel even now. And that whole kind of idea I thought was really cleverly woven into an episode about robots trying to make Angel a slave. So yeah, I enjoyed everything they did with that, and just highlighting the man Wesley is now, the man he was, the man he still has the potential to be when he's on the phone to his dad. He's just, some people never change, we know this about the Watchers Council and everything, just old white guys really, aren't they, for the most part, set in their ways. And the tragedy is, we saw the very last second in Buffy season 7 that they were like, oh, we're going to help the Slayer out finally, and then they instantly die. So that experience and losing all his watches and stuff, it hasn't changed Wesley's real dad. He's still just as belittling and a dick as ever. But it was cool that we now have a face for him, and we know truly what he is like, because Wesley absolutely believed for the entire episode that really was his dad. So that must be exactly what he's like and how he treats Wesley. Just the little things. God, I hate people like that. Just it's kind of like Monica's mum in Friends to Monica most of the time. Hate her. But yes, I did enjoy the exploration of that, pretty unhealthy father-son thing. And some things you just can't fix. We had Angel and Connor being the big crux of last season, their relationship, the real strain between them. Can they patch things up? Can they not? In a way, they didn't, because they had to have people forget Connor, and Connor had to forget and go with another family and stuff for it to be resolved. But they did kind of find a peace with that storyline in a way. It did get tied up in a nice, neat bow, to the fact that Wesley and his dad is probably never going to get that closure or that development, and sometimes that just isn't how things go. It's an interesting contrast between those two relationships that I enjoyed them exploring as well. So yeah, Roger. I thought his name was Robert at first. I crossed it out and wrote Roger because I realised that they said Roger, not Robert. You didn't need to know that. I don't know why I even told you. That was completely pointless, but never mind. But yeah, I feel like I've seen the actor in something before. I recognised him. I don't know what. But I did really enjoy the performance that he gave. He definitely. I think it's hard when a character's been mentioned for like literally at this point. It would have been what, like 5 years, 4 or 5 years anyway, since Wesley's dad would have first been mentioned and talked about and stuff. And fans and stuff probably would have been wondering, like, who is this guy like and stuff. I feel like sometimes when you've had that for so long and then you introduce the character, it's probably quite difficult to match people's expectations and really get a sense like, oh yeah, I can see that this is who Wesley's been talking about or who they've been referred to all these years ago. But I feel like they lived up to that, and I was like, yep, you're an arsehole. It's confirmed. So yeah, I enjoyed what the actor brought to it, and the twists and turns that came with it, even though he ultimately became, well, he actually was like a robot or something in the end. I did like that he was still a perfect replica of Wesley's father. I do find it interesting that normally with something like this, I think if this was a plot, you would want to replicate or take the form of someone who a lot of people like and admire and respect, and you actually want to take the form of someone good and decent and likable. So the fact that they couldn't do that and they chose Wesley because they thought he was like the weak link and the weaker one that they could manipulate was quite interesting. And pointing out, the stuff with the books, and that was just a means to get to the other room where the actual staff thing was, and then trying to get Angel on the roof, everything with that. It was cool to kind of see that plot unfold, even if I don't think ultimately it was a big part of the episode that you need to take away from it. I don't know if they will continue to explore exactly, why they wanted Angel to be a slave and what that big deal was, or if it's just, maybe we'll never truly know. We've crossed a lot of paths with people since we've taken over Wolfram and Hart. This is just another way of like trying to get rid of him or whatever. Maybe we're not going to know what the grander scheme of that was, and I'm kind of okay with that. But if they do also continue to explore it, that'd be fun as well. But I did like the imagery of Wesley peeling off the front of that cyborg's face, and we saw the guy underneath suffering and everything, and Wesley's earlier blunder with the bomb, activating that by accident, which he only did because he wasn't really concentrating because his dad's around. He completely became like this 7-year-old boy again. He then could use that to his advantage later to interrogate one of them, and you could even think maybe Wesley was right about what the writing was on the cyborg. Maybe he was right about that and exactly what the translation was, but because the dad was actually a robot as well, he just knew what to do to disarm it and had a good excuse then to just belittle Wesley and make him feel small by saying, actually, it was this and this. Because he pointed out, it's actually this and what to do with it. Wesley then just knew how to work the bomb and switch off if he needed to. So maybe he was right all along and it was just another kind of manipulation from fake dad, robo-dad, if you will. There's lots of things like that could feed into Wesley being like, maybe you're just really afraid that I'm better than you at being a watcher. And the tragedy, like Wesley was still trying to impress his dad, I feel like, even if he was not at all interested in joining the Watchers Council again now because he's moved so far beyond that. It's just the tragedy of what is ingrained in you in childhood, I guess, that constant need to please his father, but he just can't do anything right. And I mean, fair's fair to the real dad. I get very grumpy if I'm woken up at like 3 AM or whatever it was, and it seemed to be quite early and stuff, but it's his son, you never hear from him, he's just a dick. So everything with that whole plotline was tragic in a way, but a good showcase of Wesley's character and how things have changed and grown with him, and how things haven't changed and grown with him as well in terms of his dad. And yeah, I don't really care about, the angel slave part of it, because it's not going to happen. And Dad just ending up being a robot, I guess, is a bit considering all the other ones seem to be cyborgs. But maybe it was a mix. I just don't think they really established that. But still, I liked what they kind of did with that. And it was a cool thing to do with Wesley's character. Then we got a bit of Angel when Fred got hurt and everything, his frustrations about, you know, the prophecy and Wesley's actions in season 3 coming up again, which they've done quite a bit in the last few episodes. I feel like, you know, Angel nearly caught himself last episode, I think it was, maybe the episode before, talking to Wesley, bringing up, you know, prophecies and the whole Connor situation. Wesley's like, sorry, what? So I feel like maybe they're building to Wesley learning about that again and everyone finding out about that again, because they keep bringing it up, so maybe there's going to be some build up there. But I like that they're exploring, maybe that's why Angel really snapped at Wesley there, and the fact that Eve just knows about that situation, I guess because she's one of so ingrained in Wolfram Heart, she also remembers everything for reasons, I guess. Again, this season's just really trying to make Eve a thing and make her happen. I'm like, but yeah, I enjoyed seeing that kind of conflict in Angel come about again, and I imagine maybe that's setting up for something further on down the line. And Fred getting injured in the whole thing at the start, but just shaking it off. Everyone else was kind of more concerned about her. You know, Wesley was like, oh, I should have been protecting you better, kind of making it about himself, I guess, in a way. And she was like, don't patronise me, you bitch. Not, you know, words to that effect, I'm sure. And then Knox was like, oh, wait, Fred, let me help you with that. I'm just going to lean over this whole table and take even longer than it would have just been if you could grab it yourself. So I'm the man, I'm going to help you out because you're injured. You've still got one working hand. That's fine, Knox, go away. Still unsure about him. I feel like we need to see more of him before I make up my mind. But, you know, it's kind of the love triangle-y thing, I guess. They're just setting up that they overly fuss about her. But there was a big moment at the end, I think, when Wesley kind of properly showcased how far he'd go for Fred. He thought it was his dad, shot him dead many, many times. There was a lot of bullets he put into him. I think that was just the frustration of his childhood coming out there. While he's got a chance to, why not? And that might have been like a bit of an oh shit moment for Fred, because she even seemed to want to push to actually stay with Wesley and not go back with Knox, but Wesley was the one who to kind of push her away. He wasn't in the headspace to really discuss what that may have ended up being a discussion about. But they're still teasing that. I'm sure Wesley and Fred's going to be a thing at some point. But also, I know an end point in a sense. So I'm like, oh. So we'll see where that goes. But I liked her inclusion in the fact that she was like, yeah, I made the choice to come along, you know, I got injured, shit happens. And everyone else's reactions to it were kind of blown out of proportion. She was she was more grounded about it, yet she was the one who actually got hurt and was bleeding out. So I quite like that as well. Just when they showcase the strength of Fred, and it's not just like, you know, she's very intelligent, she can do all this stuff and super smart. She's also a lot stronger than people kind of give her credit for at times. They can really underestimate her, and that's when I think she gets those small victories. We saw with her like going off on her own with the whole Jasmine thing as well. So I like when they showcase that. And then Spike just being his usual spiky self. Could have done without the comment about sex with robots. My God, I want to forget about that whole Buffy bot thing with you. But yeah, he had some funny lines, as he does tend to. And I like that they are developing his ability to move things in the real world. So the scene where he punched through gun and hit the cyborg thing was great. So maybe he won't gain corporeal form again now. I thought he'd still find a way somehow, but maybe he won't. But he'll just get better and better at being able to do that. And it's just basically like he is corporeal. Maybe that's where they're just going to go with it to make it a bit easier. Because, you know, it's going to save budget if they just make him corporeal again. They don't need to do weird effects of him punching through people or, you know, making things levitate, you know? So I feel like there's just going to be that solution. But I like that he's still practicing with that and developing that. And the scene with him and Eve in the elevator felt very out of place. So that's why I'm thinking it's going to be set up, and the fact that he's quite sus of Eve as well, and there's probably more to her than she's letting on, which I absolutely believe, because they are really trying to force her into, you know, the audience's throats, I guess, this season. So I'm sure there's going to be more to her. Exactly what, I don't know, but she's shady, and I definitely don't trust her. I'm still uncertain about Nox. Still not sure. Could go either way. But again, they're still pushing him quite a bit, so there's probably going to be more to him. But I think there's definitely more to Eve than she's let on right now. And the fact that Spike, we had someone directly confront her about that, makes me think the revelation's probably coming fairly soon about her and exactly what's going on with that. But yeah, she was having these extra looks at Angel, these extra looks at Spike. I'm just like, what is your plan here? She's like got all these cogs turning in her head, all these different plans probably playing out. I like that Spike's like, I don't trust you, you know, I've seen you staring at me, go away. Because normally he'd be very humbled and he'd like to, I guess, have a bit of a play and a flirt about someone staring at him all the time. He'd just assume like, oh, you know, it's because I'm so dashing and handsome. But he was just like, you're staring at me, you're being weird, I don't trust you. So there must be something there. He can be that insightful and not just like, well, clearly she fancies me. So yeah, I like that we had something there about Eve and just telling the audience to keep your eye on her. So I'm sure we'll get something about that soon, but I like that they're addressing it. And if there is something more to Eve, that means it's actually a point to the character, which I'm kind of waiting to see as well. So yeah, I liked everything with that. And, you know, we had a bit of Lorne again. I liked the cut to him just talking to Roger, and he's like, well, don't worry, Lorne's entertaining him. And then we just had a cut to him being like, I'm a robot and I still want to kill myself. And Lorne was just talking about all sorts of stuff. So again, we've kind of gone back to, well, let's just have a comical scene with Lorne on the phone about a crazy situation, which is just their go-to for Lorne these days, really. But still, it's a fun presence to have around. And Gunn had a few bits and pieces to do. I think we're due a proper Gunn episode at some point as well. But he's still doing his thing, and I do like that he's actually quite settled and very comfortable in Wolfram and Hart. I quite enjoyed that, because a lot of people still aren't, and that's kind of the point. But it's cool that some people have just taken to it better, so I enjoyed that with him. But yeah, I think that's kind of everything I really want to talk about, but a really, really good episode. Love the focus on Wesley and everything with his dad, and the tragedy that, you know, there's probably not going to be any steps forward in terms of that proper, real development in that relationship, but that's life sometimes. But there was some development with him and Fred, I felt, as well. Some of the imagery with the cyborgs was really cool. The Spike and Eve stuff intrigues me, exactly what is going on with her, because I'm just waiting for it to make sense why she's getting so much focus instead of someone like Gunn or Lorne. Yeah, another really good episode. And something, you know, I think there were some discussions in the comments, and there aren't going to be comments on this video open for a little bit, at least not for this cycle, but there were comments, I think, in the last one, kind of talk about, you know, if you're familiar with like the culture and Mexican Day of the Dead, you know, that kind of culture, I think you're going to get a lot more out of the episode, and it's going to emotionally resonate and connect with you a lot easier. With this one, you know, I have a very deep connection with Wesley as a character, because I absolutely adore Wesley's character and his arc. So it's cool to have an episode come along again that can emotionally resonate with people like that. So for me personally, you know, I felt that connection again with the storyline in this episode, which is why I very much enjoyed it. So yeah, I don't think it was like the season arc plot moving forward episode 7 like we've seen in the past with other seasons in the Buffyverse, but maybe Angel season 5 is just a bit different and doesn't really have a long arc. They might be changing it up, I don't know. But regardless, it was a really, really great episode, and I look forward to seeing what they're going to be doing next with it. But I think that's going to be everything for now, so until my next reaction, thanks for watching.